All right, everyone. Hello and welcome in. We have reached the middle of the week, and it is going to be a very interesting Wednesday for the Minnesota Vikings at practice today because of a report that we learned about yesterday. According to Darren Wolfson and Chris Long, both of them are collaborating on this scoop. The Minnesota Vikings today will bring back free agent defensive end Everson Griffen for a tryout/workout, and we will see what the result of that is in the coming days. So, this is a very interesting development. I think one that we didn't really see coming. We have talked about this previously. I think we've done a couple of videos here on our channel talking about whether or not fans would welcome back Everson Griffen in what I think would be a predictably limited role. So I think we're finally going to see this scenario play itself out in real time. And there's some interesting storylines surrounding just this one tryout. I don't think that there's been a more, what's the word I'm looking for, polarizing workout. Like, it's just a workout. He's not even signed a contract yet. But there are some differences of opinion amongst Minnesota Vikings fans alike about what Everson Griffen would mean as a return to this team. So today is what we're going to talk about real quick. Hopefully I can get this uploaded before the actual workout happens and we get the yay or nay or whether or not he's actually going to join the team in a full capacity. We're going to go over what this means for the team, some thoughts and opinions, and go over the storyline surrounding, because some of them are pretty hilarious. So what does this mean for the team? Obviously, let's put this into context. It's just a workout. It doesn't really mean all that lot other than, the Vikings and Mike Zimmer are exploring their options. And, that's kind of what we expected, or at least I expected myself, maybe not this early and maybe not this player, because as the preseason moves along, teams are going to cut more and more players. The next roster cut down day is going to be much more significant than the one we just had where they had to drop down to 85. So I expect the Vikings to bring in players from around the league in order to shore up some weak spots. This is an opportunity, in my opinion, for the Minnesota Vikings to take something that is already a perceived strength and turn it into something that is even stronger and just more loaded so that Mike Zimmer can weaponize this during the regular season. So we've talked on and on about, especially throughout training camp, and how the defensive line really has become the bright spot after being complete dog water last year. They made the moves in the offseason to bring in the guys they need. We're getting a couple of guys back from opt-out and injury last year, Michael Pierce and Danielle Hunter respectively. This is the perceived strength of the Minnesota Vikings team, not just the defense. I think the team, arguably. So to take something that is already really strong and solidify that is in my opinion a good strategy. So why not take the risk? It's not great news for guys who are low on the depth chart or even in the middle of the depth chart, like Hercules Mataafa and Jalen Holmes. I think that this is kind of putting them on notice that they're going to need to be more productive in order to survive the next round of cuts. I think it would likely be, or I'll get to that point in a minute. I don't think that this is going to have an impact on Stephen Weatherly and DJ Wanham. I think those two guys, as we heard from the defensive line coach, are really solidified in competition for that starting defensive end spot opposite of Danielle Hunter. It's likely going to come down to Stephen Weatherly and DJ Wanham to see who is the opening day defensive end opposite of Danielle Hunter week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't think it affects those guys' stock as much as it does some of the others. If he does make the team, I think likely it's a veteran minimum contract, probably only 1 year, maybe some incentive bonuses for sacks. We'll talk about that in a minute. And it would be a very, very small, almost insignificant cap hit to the Minnesota Vikings' existing cap space. It's likely going to be where he is brought in under the condition that he will play a small role on third downs and sub in on pass rush packages, likely even in the interior of the defense, where you could imagine your third down pass rush package features Stephen Weatherly, Danielle Hunter as your ends, Sheldon Richardson, and Everson Griffen inside. That would be a pretty interesting way to utilize the talent that they could have. There was a point, and I read a tweet about this, but I forget what year it was, but there was a year where the Vikings kept 10 defensive linemen. You could theoretically see this happening again. There's just the fact that they're bringing in another guy to work out. Last year, he didn't play for the Minnesota Vikings. In 2020, he bounced around between Detroit and Dallas. Still had a decent season for 14 games with 6 sacks. So I think if you can get 14 games and 6 sacks out of a guy who's 33 years old and on a veteran minimum contract for 1 year, I think that's worth it, in my opinion. So it makes sense to me. So He is a fan favorite. He had a solid Vikings career, but there seems to be a difference of opinion amongst Vikings fans and the fan base where they're a little bit split on whether or not they want this to actually happen. Now, remember, this is just a workout. He hasn't signed a contract yet, but there are some folks in the Vikings sphere that think that this is a bad idea. Some have moved on from Everson Griffen, and I can understand why. But there are some who, I think are attached to, the good old days, if I could call it that, and would really like to bring him back. I'm in the middle. I don't really have a preference either way. If it helps the team be more productive on defense and helps the pass rush, sure, I'm all for it. It makes sense to me. There is also, the sort of the storyline that's brewing amongst Vikings social media is that this is sort of this is a conspiracy theory, I'll admit. It's like Mike Zimmer is frustrated with Kirk Cousins. Everson Griffen famously earlier this year, remember it was just earlier this year back in January, tweeted out that Kirk Cousins is ass, and he tweeted it at the official Minnesota Vikings Twitter account. Those were quickly deleted, and of course he did end up apologizing, I think the same day or a few days later. So maybe that's water under the bridge. But there's now a discussion about whether or not this infuses bad blood into the locker room if he does end up signing a contract and staying with the team for however long that ends up working out. I don't think so. I don't think Kirk Cousins cares. He clearly doesn't care what most people think of him. I doubt he gives two shits about what Everson Griffen has to say. And I also don't think it's going to create any sort of dysfunction in the locker room, in my opinion, because publicly these guys are kind of all saying the right things. So I got to imagine that they have things under control. So could this be something that would, draw some frustration from the players towards Mike Zimmer? Yeah, I think that could be a legitimate possibility. But do I think they themselves would get frustrated with each other with, sort of not an unresolved, but, sort of a conflict that they're all aware of in the locker room? Debatable at best. I don't think that this is Mike Zimmer trying to get revenge subtly on Kirk Cousins for not getting vaccinated by bringing in a guy that thinks he sucks. I think that that's just a hilarious coincidence, in my opinion. So that's what I believe about that. Overall, it's a harmless idea. Why not bring somebody out in for a workout? I think that they should also be talking about Russell Okung, coming in for a workout. But apparently they like Rashad Hill, and Blake Brandel has looked good enough in their opinions that Mike Zimmer said that he could possibly be the swing tackle. Those are his words for this year, which makes the Christian Darrisaw situation look pretty bleak about his return. So, but that's what we're looking at for today. Everson Griffen will be working out with the Vikings this afternoon/evening, and then we will follow up with this later on today or tomorrow to see how it goes. We have a lot of stuff to talk about that we haven't got to, so feel free to subscribe and stick around. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.